talk hypnosis a little. Are you a mom, Melissa?
Yes, hence why I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. So Mira's with us as well. She's saying Alhamdulillah. Okay, tamam, great. So let's get started. It's not a course, but it's a little webinar on how we can affect and influence and transform our kids. And it's actually pretty easy. Kids are like sponges. So we can use hypnosis, which is a state of suggestibility, enhanced suggestibility, meaning that when you are in the state of hypnosis, you have a capacity to accept suggestions. So for example, if I tell you you are now a non-smoker and you're not in the state of hypnosis or suggestibility, you'll say, yeah, right, Mark, keep talking. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to transform. But if you are in the state of hypnosis, which is a state of heightened suggestibility again, then you will accept the suggestion that you are a non-smoker. And then, you know, if we program it or condition it enough, okay, then you will actually become a non-smoker. This can happen in an hour. It can happen in many sessions. But, you know, I have a lot of success with people who stop smoking, and it's usually not very difficult to do. So just a little background on myself. I've been teaching hypnotherapy and all sorts of hypnosis courses and for over 2 decades. So having said that, I found out there are a couple little secrets which we might talk about during this hour. So I'm just going to spend maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes explaining a little bit the theory, and then you can ask questions, and we'll go from there. And just so you know, it's all about practice, practice, and practice. The theory is not difficult. It's actually pretty easy. Let me turn off this light here. Hold on. All right. Is that better? Well, it's better for me. So, again, the state of hypnosis or being in that state is a state of heightened suggestibility whereby we can accept the suggestions given to us. So I've had a lot of successes with moms who couldn't help their children to stop wetting the bed, or who had some limiting beliefs or low self-esteem, or who had problems at school studying and retaining the information, or who were very aggressive. I've had a lot of successes without them coming to my clinic here in Beirut, just explaining to them something called hypnosleep, which is pretty easy to master. So I'll tell you a little about that later on. So far, any questions? You can chat with me, or you can just, you know, talk to me directly. Let's make this easygoing and fluid. All right. So I'm going to talk a little about the mind model. Tell me if you can see this here. Can you see this page?
Yes.
All right. So this is the mind model. You have the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the unconscious mind. So, you know, I've learned hypnotherapy many, many years ago from many different teachers, some in France, some in the States, some from England, all over. My school tends to divide the mind model into 3 categories: the conscious mind, the subconscious, and the unconscious mind. The French, a lot of the French usually say conscient et inconscient, or conscious and subconscious, or conscious and unconscious. Doesn't really matter, it's the same. It's the same stuff, it's the same way of dealing with any type of challenge your kid might have. Okay, so the conscious mind has 4 abilities, if you want, the conscious mind. So let me show you the picture here again. This is the conscious mind, and here you have the willpower, the analytical, the rational or common sense, and the temporary memory. Can you see this? Guys, can you see this?
Yes.
So let's talk about those competencies or those skills of the conscious mind, not the subconscious or unconscious, but the conscious. The conscious is pretty limited, actually. So willpower, let's start with willpower, or la volonté, or in Arabic, al-iradi. Okay, so willpower. Is willpower necessary for transformation? Is it a must? Is it extremely important? Yes or no, in your opinion? Hello?
Well, I'll also speak up. So I think, you know, it's what I guess the traditional kind of way of thinking would be that yes, willpower is required because everything is a matter of habit, and as a result, you know, we do small actions, and as a result, you know, we're able to create big change. But I have a feeling that you're going to say something a bit different.
Oh yeah, you're very intuitive. We'll talk about intuition, that's another class, but yes, you're right. Determination is different than willpower. For example, can I use my willpower to go to sleep right now? By saying, I am going to sleep right now, using my willpower. Does that work?
Obviously not, no.
Yeah. If you've been in love or are in love right now, you know very well that you cannot turn that off immediately by using your willpower. I am going to fall out of love right now, here and now. Does that work? No, it doesn't. So that's why I get a lot of people with broken hearts that come to my clinic, because willpower ain't gonna cut it. It's not gonna cut the mustard. So willpower does not really work. What you want to do is go into the subconscious and access the challenge or access the subconscious. And I'll show you how in a bit, okay? So willpower is not that important. Of course, your motivation to change is important. It's actually the most important element besides the depth of suggestibility or the depth of hypnosis. If you're deep into hypnosis, you're very suggestible and you accept the suggestions. So I used to do stage hypnosis, and I used to tell everybody on stage, you're now going to cluck like a chicken, or you are Elvis Presley now singing in the 60s in a Hollywood movie. So some of them, around 20%, would go deep into hypnosis and accept these suggestions, and they would cluck like chickens or act like Elvis Presley and whatnot. Okay, because they were deep into hypnosis and they accepted the suggestion. It's just that simple. And by the way, 20% of the population in general goes pretty deep into hypnosis and pretty rapidly. Okay, people who analyze a lot, who have a fear of letting go, usually take a little bit more time. Okay, does that make sense, Munira? Munira's being quiet today. Okay. Medha is here. Okay. So that's the willpower element. Let's talk about the analytical, which is also in the conscious mind. The analytical, tahleel in Arabic. So the analytical is just another skill of the conscious. Some people analyze and see the small details, and some people don't see the big picture. Some people see the big picture and miss the details and get, you know, sometimes they drown in the details or drown in the big picture and don't see other things. It's just a skill. How to analyze is a skill. How to analyze a situation, or let's say politics, or what's going on in the world, you know, it's a skill. Some people are very good at it. Some people are not so good at it. Okay, the third element in the conscious mind is what I call common sense, in Arabic, mantiq, or reason, if you want. And they say in English, common sense is not that common, right? Well, it's very true. Especially now, a lot of people are in fear of what's going on with the COVID situation, the vaccines, and et cetera, et cetera. So fear can block your common sense and can block your reasoning and block a lot of things, by the way. Fear, anger, guilt, stress, sadness, loneliness, boredom, frustration, depression, you know, primary emotions, secondary emotions. The tertiary emotion is depression. So we have a lot of that going on, at least we do in Beirut. I don't know what's going on in Dubai. But common sense is not that common, right? I don't need to give examples. I'm sure that you agree with me on this one. People are emotional. People, you can sell. I used to be a sales trainer a long time ago. Maybe I still am. When you sell to the subconscious mind, you're hypnotizing somebody. It's just that simple. Okay, so I remember teaching as a sales trainer, you know, that you want to touch a nerve, you want to get people emotional. It's the same thing when you hypnotize somebody. And when you combine the senses, you know, the visual, auditory, kinesthetic, gustatory, and smell, and people think there are only 6 senses. There are actually 384 senses. If you combine more than 3 senses, then the probability that that person is going to go into hypnosis is very high. All right. So common sense is not that common. That's the third skill of the conscious mind. And then you have the temporary memory. Temporary memory is, for example, remembering where I parked my car, what my girlfriend's name is, what my wife's name is, etc. You know, what my phone number is, the names of my friends. You know, it's, even though it's something we usually don't forget, we call it the temporary memory, as compared to the permanent memory, which is in the subconscious mind. All right. So that's it. That's the conscious mind. So we have the willpower, we have the analytical skill, we have common sense or reasoning, and we have the fourth, which is the temporary memory. That's it. Conscious mind is not that exciting. The subconscious mind, however, is super exciting. It's your personality. It's who you really are. A lot of hypnotists say, and I'm one of them, that your subconscious mind is your soul. So, you know, I teach shamanism as well, so I'm not going to go into that, even though that's my passion now. My first passion was hypnotherapy, and it still is today, but shamanism, the shamans are the best hypnotists. Let's just put it that way. All right. So any questions on the conscious mind? Medha, Munira, Melissa, any questions? Woohoo!
So,
Okay, I can't hear you, but if you want, you can chat with me as well. Okay, so let's talk about the subconscious. What's in the subconscious? Well, when you imagine something, you're accessing the subconscious. So if I imagine I'm a non-smoker a lot and vividly for a long time, I will actually become a non-smoker. So I'm hypnotizing myself, self-hypnosis, if you will. So the imaginal in Arabic, مش الخيال, الخيال, التخيل. The imaginal is the doorway to the spirit world and to the subconscious, of course, and to your soul, if you want. So just knowing this, if you imagine something vividly and you imagine it enough, you're going to attract it. You're going to become a non-smoker. You're going to stop wetting the bed. You're going to stop behaving aggressively. But again, it has to do with your depth of suggestibility, and it has to do with your motivation. How motivated are you to stop? I've seen people quit smoking, and one fraction of a second, they took the cigarette and bang, because they were so motivated. All right. Now, in general, it takes a little bit more than that. So you have the imaginal and the subconscious. Okay. And then you have the permanent memory, which is everything you've ever done, heard, smelled since you were born, even before, if you believe in past lives, is recorded in your permanent memory. Gabish? Does that make sense? Okay. Then you have your emotions. Emotions, it's all about emotions, isn't it? Fear, anger, guilt, stress, sadness, loneliness, boredom, frustration, depression. Can we eliminate that? Yes. Even if we have, like a lot of psychiatrists say, organic or functional disorders, not enough dopamine or serotonin or whatever. Yes, it is possible. You can recover from depression and anxiety without medications, believe it or not. I know I've been saying this for over 30 years. I've been teaching for over 20 years. And I have cases still every day of people who get rid of anxiety and depressions, and I'm talking deep depressions, by changing their lifestyle and their thinking and using hypnosis, of course, to reprogram, recondition, or rewire their thinking. Okay? Are you following me so far? I'm not saying that meds are not necessary. They do play a role, of course they do. But it should play a small role, not the role it's playing nowadays, which is 99% of the time. All right. So emotions, fear, anger, and guilt are called the devil's triangle. Fear, anger, and guilt. In Arabic, mutallat al-shaitan. Okay, if we could only get rid of the fear of dying, the fear of not being loved, the fear of so many fears of failure, fear, we would get in touch with our real self, which is joy, peace, serenity, etc. All right. So this is all in the subconscious. The imagination, the permanent memory, emotions, the emotional mind, some people call it. Okay, the right side of your head, of your brain, they call it. Let's not get into that. And then you have the protective factor. That's why in hypnosis, if I tried to rob a bank and hypnotize somebody to rob a bank, it doesn't work because it's against their values for most people. It doesn't work that way. So you cannot hypnotize somebody against their will, against their values. It just doesn't happen. I tried, didn't work. A long time ago. So you have the imaginal permanent memory, emotions, the protective factor, and then you have all your habits, whether they're good habits or bad habits, smoking, whatever it is, cussing, whether you consider it a good or bad. There's no such thing as good and bad, really, but you know what I mean. Okay, these habits can be changed. Yes, pretty easily, actually, especially if you practice self-hypnosis. Okay, so habits, success is a series of habits. You know that, right? So I'm going to tell you in a little bit how we can change the habits of our kids. If you have access to your kids, if your kid's not talking to you, there's a problem. You won't be able to do anything. Right? So habits and beliefs, core beliefs. Mankind is evil. Mankind is good. Whatever beliefs you have, mankind is, our nature is love, or whatever your beliefs are. I don't really go into it and think about these type of beliefs. I adopt beliefs that empower me. So, I'll find you all sorts of statistics that will prove that man is evil, and then others that will prove that man is fundamentally good. I'm not trying to prove anything. I just adopt and go to the bookstore and buy the beliefs that empower me. And that's the way I've decided to live my life. So, in other words, I'm encouraging you to adopt beliefs that empower you. Whether it's true or not, it's not really important. Whether it's effective is important or not. All right. So, having said that, let me show you the second page. So here we have the subconscious mind. So you have the conscious mind, and then the subconscious is where? Right here in the middle. We talked about this right now. In red. And then around the subconscious mind, you have the critical factor. So if you look at this, can you see this, by the way, guys? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, Melissa. So,
But it's hard to read though. It's hard to read this one.
well, what about now?
A little bit better.
Okay. Now.
Yeah, it's better. Yep.
All right. So you see,
Subconscious, imagination, focus, permanent memory, emotions. Yeah.
okay. So you see the critical factor around the subconscious mind? Around the dotted lines around the subconscious, Melissa.
So it says for the critical factor, it says hypnosis is it's cut off then. So just, yeah, hypnosis is the bypass of the critical factor and the establishment of acceptable selective thinking.
Yeah. So that critical factor is passport control. So I'm giving you a suggestion that you are now a non-smoker, right? The suggestion goes and hits the passport control or the critical factor, and they either let you in or they don't. The critical factor says, okay, come on in, okay, and then they go into the subconscious, and the subconscious says, no, I love smoking. But once it goes into the subconscious, now you have accepted the fact that what? You're a non-smoker, because the passport control people or agents or whatever you want to call them, or the critical factor has let that suggestion in, correct? All right. So the deal to be effective is to bypass the critical factor and have that suggestion go into the subconscious mind so it becomes a practical reality. All right? Now here's the key. The critical factor starts to develop around the age of 7. So the little ones learn from their mothers and fathers, usually the mother more. If the father's around, then maybe a little bit from him and his environment or her environment. And they're like a sponge before the age of 7, especially. Around the age of 7, the critical factor is formed and developed, and they have a comparison mechanism. They compare, the suggestion to what they know to be true in the subconscious mind. Hypnotists help you bypass the critical factor, because all hypnosis is self-hypnosis, by the way. So the hypnotist guides you to bypass the critical factor and to accept a suggestion that's going like a hot knife into butter into your subconscious mind. Gabish? Does that make sense? Not everybody at once, please.
Right. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So is that Medha?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Say again.
I understood, sir. Whatever you said, sir.
All right. Well, I couldn't hear you very well, but I think I got you. So now here's the key. How can moms influence their children? Of course, a lot of love and nurturing is a great thing to do. Criticism, judgment, these things are probably very hurtful to a child. So let's suppose your child has some limiting beliefs and low self-esteem, or is wetting the bed, or whatever problems. I don't know, give me some problems that your children have. What you want to do, okay, so Melissa's saying my little one is a year and a half. Can this work on her? Yeah, usually we can hypnotize children from 3 on up, but it can, of course, you can't hypnotize people. You can hypnotize your fetus, actually. And there's some statistics that show that it's effective. Anyway, when you're pregnant and you have music and you have a loving atmosphere, you can be sure that your baby is going to be healthier, to say the least. So anyway, there's something called hypnosleep. Hypnosleep. So if Melissa, of course, I'm sure you put your little one to sleep, and most mothers tuck their children in bed. There's a way for you to bypass the critical factor. And remember, Melissa, that at a year and a half, there is no critical factor, right? So touch is important, nurturing love, nurturing atmosphere is important. So having said that, it's very easy to hypnotize children that are below 7 years old because there's no critical factor. They're already absorbing everything you're saying, everything your energy, the way you move. They're imitating everything mom and dad does, and it's being stored in their subconscious mind. Now, hypnosleep is a technique. If you take the course, it's just an hour. You can take it, whether I'm in Dubai or not, you can take it on, here on Zoom, or we can take it in person. Then all you have to do is when you tuck your little one in, they go to sleep, then you come afterwards under the radar and you ask the little one, "Hi, this is mom speaking to you. If you can hear me, move your finger." So sometimes they move their finger, or they move their body, and they're just, moving around. That's a very good time for you to give them suggestions and repeat those suggestions. But of course, you need to know how to give the suggestions. It must be in the present tense. It must be very positive. You don't want to put any negations. "I am not," for example, is a negation. The not usually, it's called pharsing, is not accepted by the subconscious mind, especially if you're very deep into the suggestibility state, which is hypnosis. So some people put little recorders next to their ear after the little one moves their finger. Sometimes they wake up, and when they wake up, you want to play as if you were, tucking them in, or just came to say goodnight or whatever. So I'll show you more in the course exactly how to do that and how to phrase your suggestions so it's effective. Now this works. I had a woman who said, "Marc, can I get my husband to buy me diamonds using this technique?" That ain't gonna work. Of course, why? Because he probably doesn't want to buy any diamonds. But what I am saying is that the critical factor of an adult is pretty developed. The critical factor of a kid is just barely developing, and under the age of 7, there is none. So it's easy to hypnotize kids, super easy, extremely easy. And I wonder every day, I've been wondering for decades, how come people don't use this technique to enhance the retrieval of information, or studying skills, or to lessen the aggressiveness, or to get them to stop wetting the bed. That's a big one, and whatnot. Super easy. All right. So that's one technique, hypnosleep. And of course, there's self-hypnosis. In the course, I'm going to show you how you can hypnotize yourself pretty easily. And you can test yourself to see that you are in that state of suggestibility. And with practice, of course, practice. If you want to become a bodybuilder, you better start working out a lot. If you want to become a great hypnotist, you better practice a lot. All right, it's all about practice, guys. So I just want you to remember that. Practice. So I should be in Dubai on the 7th of July, and you can always ask Illuminations, tell them you want to take a session with me on Zoom, and we can do that here, even if I'm in Lebanon. Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk about today. How moms can influence and really transform their kids by using the hypnosleep technique and other techniques, and how you can increase your peaceful energy and serenity no matter what. Now, presence, is a type. Well, I'm sure you've all heard about Eckhart Tolle and Richard Moss and all these fantastic spiritual people who talk about presence. Well, I made the connection between self-hypnosis and presence. I think you might like that as well. All right. So let me read what you wrote here. "So I can convince her to sleep through the night as long as I don't wake her up in the process." Well, at 1 year old, sometimes they have, you know, bodily needs or whatnot. So colic and you know, going to the bathroom for the little ones is usually a little bit more than the adults. So yeah, you will improve that. Definitely, yes. But what you want to do is whisper those suggestions and repeat them a lot. All right. Believe it or not, they do understand. They do understand. They do understand the energy, even if they don't understand mentally and cannot analyze yet. You know, intuition is a big part of the little ones under the age of 7. They're very intuitive and pick up things, and, you know, like a sponge, like I said. All right. Any other questions? Because I'm just done with the theory right now. I don't want to go more into this, but I think I've given you enough for you to ask me a couple of questions and to pique your interest. Any questions? Shukran jazilan. Killik zoq Munira. Thank you. Thank you very much. So if you have any questions, I'll be here. I know they said the webinar is going to be for an hour, but I told them I'll just speak for half an hour and then have them ask questions. The course, I can teach you hypnosleep and self-hypnosis in 1 hour. That's it. I'll teach you in detail, and all you have to do after that is practice, practice, practice. You know, I removed the tooth using self-hypnosis, and you know, I can control pain using self-hypnosis. And, you know, I taught medical doctors how to, you know, undergo or conduct surgeries in hypnosis. So I have a lot of experience with this, and I'm sure I'll get a lot more. So it's real, guys. You know, there are probably people out there who don't believe, and they call it woo-woo stuff or whatever, sorcery. They don't know what they're talking about. So anyway, listen to your, yeah, no more doubts, exactly, madam, no more doubts. We are very powerful beings, extremely powerful. You have no idea how powerful we are. We're not using enough of our God-given talents and power. It's just a matter of practice, practice, practice. All right. So I'll just wait a little bit more. If you have any questions, I'll address them as best I can. And then it's up to you to take action. All right. So thanks for listening to me, and God bless. Take care, and good night, everybody. Bye. Thank you. Thank you.